Hi there, my name is Mike Goldrick. I'm going to be talking with you today about the recognition of prior experiential learning, also known as RPEL. Today we're going to talk about the following: the three domains of learning, what is RPEL, how we use RPEL in National College of Ireland, and last but not least, how you can start the RPEL application process. So let's get started. When we think about learning, the first thing that usually springs to mind is going to school, going to college, and in that college mindset, getting a diploma, a degree, a master's degree, or even a PhD. However, in NCI, we recognize that learning does not just take place in a university or a college. Learning can happen everywhere at any time. So whilst we have formal learning, we also have what's called non-formal learning and informal learning. So let's explore these a little bit more. So as we said, formal learning usually takes place within institutes, colleges, or universities, and typically results in the achievement of certificates, diplomas, degrees, and so on. Non-formal learning, on the other hand, usually takes place within the workplace or voluntary sector. The learning within these sectors may be assessed, but does not normally lead to formal certification. Usually, it takes place within short-term internal training programs, and they can be in anything from sales to computer systems. The final category, and perhaps the most relevant, is informal learning. And informal learning takes place throughout our lifespan and is typically known as experiential learning. And we're going to focus on that for the moment and reflect on our own experiential learning. So, for the next few moments, I'd like us to consider the types of knowledge and skills that you've developed naturally as part of your own lives. And in doing so, perhaps consider the following areas: your work life, your profession, perhaps community or voluntary activities, home duties, sports, or any other relevant experiences. For instance, if you've developed a career over a number of years, what types of skills and knowledge do you think you've developed as part of that career? Have you worked on your own or perhaps with others? Have you managed projects or funds? Have you led teams? Been involved in sales, marketing, or advertising? Have you used technology, whether it was hardware or software? Perhaps you've trained others, and in doing so, what types of skills and knowledge would you think are transferable and useful in the program you wish to study in NCI? Moving on then to other types of experience, perhaps consider what types of knowledge and skills have you developed as a result of community or voluntary involvement. Have you been involved in fundraising or setting up an event? These types of activities would require the development of problem-solving skills, or time management, networking, leadership, teamwork, collaboration, all such soft skills which we would consider to be transferable. Also, let us not forget the skills and knowledge that develop naturally through the process of managing a household. Multitasking, problem solving, financial planning, all of these skills can be transferred and enhanced in a different setting. Similarly to sports, if you've ever played on a team or coached a team, you will have developed team building skills or leadership skills, time management, goal setting, planning. So, you now get a sense that whilst you have developed core skills and knowledge through school or other formal settings, you may have developed so much more naturally as part of your life. And that's where the RPEL process comes into play. So, perhaps now we have a better understanding of what exactly experiential learning is and that learning itself is not just formal education, which we experience through schools and institutes, but learning itself happens naturally within our work lives, community settings, family lives, and even through our hobbies. And that through RPEL, we can capture all of that experience, put it together in a portfolio of evidence, and map it to specific learning outcomes. And we're going to talk a little bit more about learning outcomes in our next video. But for now, you may be questioning, is RPEL for me? The recognition of prior experiential learning is intended for applicants and students who may or may not have had structured formal education, but who has learned from their involvement in employment, community activities, home duties, sports, and so on. All of that accumulated learning, when evaluated qualitatively and quantitatively, can entitle that applicant to credits, exemptions, or direct entry to a program of their choice without having formal academic requirements. Applicants may be in employment, they could be self-employed, could be unemployed, could be currently retired from employment, or may never have been in employment. So if you're asking yourself, is RPEL for me? The answer is yes, it is. You may then be questioning how we can use RPEL and NCI to evaluate your learning. Well, we use RPEL and NCI for many different reasons. Firstly, in order to satisfy the entry requirements. For instance, for applicants who do not meet the specific entry requirements to a program, for instance, level 5 qualifications, but who have significant and relevant experience that can be the equivalent of a level 5 qualification. We can also use RPEL and NCI for partial entry, whereby an applicant may have an existing qualification, but that qualification is not at the appropriate level necessary to gain entry to that program. We also use RPEL and NCI for what is called advanced standing or advanced entry, where in some cases it is justified to allow an applicant to enter onto a second year of a program through RPEL or a combination of RPEL and existing formal qualifications. And lastly, we have used and do use RPEL for the exemption of modules. Modules are individual subjects within a program, and through RPEL, applicants and students can be made exempt from one or more modules in a particular program. This process typically takes place once an applicant is registered onto a program. In this final section of the video, we are going to consider the RPEL application process in NCI and take a look at the form itself. When you apply for RPEL and NCI, you are going to be given the RPEL application form directly from admissions. And on the first page of that form, it will simply ask you to capture your applicant information, such as surname, first name, the course that you're applying for, and the level of that course, whether it's a level 6, 7, 8, or 9, the RPEL application type, whether it's entry, advanced entry, or module exemptions. Having completed the first page of the form, your next task will be to complete section 1, which captures your experience, knowledge, and achievements. Under work experience, you're suggested to write between 500 and 800 words. Do not worry if you go slightly above or below that particular word limit. However, do keep in mind that whilst we suggest you present your work in chronological order, we do not suggest that you directly copy and paste the contents of your CV. What we are looking for in this particular section is that you reflect on your work experiences or similar experiences as a whole, and reflect on the types of roles that you've played within an organization or a community setting or similar. Having captured the details of your work experience in the previous page, the next subsection requests that you reflect on your overall knowledge and skills gained through your work experiences or similar experiences. So, exactly like our exercise earlier, ask yourself, what types of knowledge and skills have I developed as part of my formal roles in a job or career, or within the community, within my home, or in my hobbies? What type of knowledge and skills have I developed naturally in my life that could be transferable to other areas and perhaps could be related to the program that I wish to study? Again, this section is suggested between 400 and 500 words, depending on the length and breadth of your experience. But do also keep in mind that the experience you should be reflecting on should be within the last 5 years. In the final page of section 1, you are asked to reflect on any key achievements that you've learned from. These can be within your professional career, community, or hobbies, or any related area. And what we ask you to do is reflect on what you've learned from these achievements. They can be anything from a published news article to an award, to a trophy, to prizes that you've won, to events that you've set up, websites perhaps that you've published, training events that you've managed. Any significant achievements that you think is relevant to the application, we encourage you to reflect on. And that will conclude section 1 of the RPEL process. In our next video, we're going to consider section 2 of the RPEL process in more detail. Thank you for watching this video, and please do remember that if you have any questions at all, you can contact our RPEL mentor at michael.goldrick@ncirl.ie. Thank you.